Everybody wants some blast of magic, 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 magic. Look up the magic in me.
It's Wednesday at Bob's Magic Emporium. You know what that means. Time for the next all-new Magician 101, the show for all magicians. We have a couple things to get into before we get into the questions. One, if you saw yesterday's Challenging Tuesday video, you might have seen the new outro at the end of the video. I made a brand new outro where it has the logos for every show, including a little snippet teaser, a little sneak peek of the logo for the 2015 show that's coming, early 2015. Little snippet. You can't see the whole logo yet, but you can see a little snippet of it. You can also see the Talk is Right logo, which is coming in October. The reason I made that intro is because I kept forgetting at the end of all my videos to do my little spiel. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, add me to Google. I forgot to say all that. So I decided to put that in the outro. Boom, I wouldn't forget to do that. So there we go. That's the reason for the new outro. And also, if you didn't see America's Got Talent last night, magician Matt Franco killed it. He killed it. He did a trick with Mel B's cell phone. It is super amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's awesome, and I definitely think he's going to move forward tonight. I think he will, because his performance was really good. There was another magician named Smooth Dini on there. I don't like him as much because he does close-up magic like Matt Franco did. Matt Franco does, but Matt Franco can do bigger things with it. He takes it off of the judges' table and somewhere else, either out in the audience like last night, or the week before, or the performance before, when he used the fire and he changed cards on that big piece of paper. He takes it somewhere and does big. So he takes the close-up, and then for the revelation, he'll do something big, which is great. And it makes it feel like it's close-up, but you're also getting that nice big stage oomph that you get with a lot of the stage magicians. So I'm rooting for Matt Franco 110%. He's the person I'm backing here at Bob's Magic Emporium. The second person I'm backing is going to probably be David and Lehman, and then Mike Super, and then Smooth Dini will be the order of who the people I'm rooting for in America's Got Talent. So hopefully Matt Franco goes on. Though I would love to see Matt Franco and Smooth Dini go on tonight, because that would mean for the top 12, when they perform, we'd have 4 magicians in the top 12. And then I'd love to see all 4 magicians go on to the finals, which would be awesome. And that we'd probably force a guaranteed win of a magician, because there'd be 2 other random acts. But that probably won't happen, where the top 6 for the finale will be 4 magicians. I don't think that's going to happen, but hopefully we'll at least get 2 magicians in the top 6. I hope. All right, first question this week comes from Lumos Magic. What is the most weird magic-related coincidence you've had? Examples: see a trick at an antique store or garage sale, etc. I actually have been thinking about your question like for the past couple days. I cannot think of any magic-related coincidence that I've had. Probably the one that stands out to me is I did a kid's birthday party, and about 4 or 5 months, or maybe 6 months later, I was doing my job. I was working at the Hallmark store, and I was doing my job. And this family walked in, and they're like, "I know you did my birthday party." The kid came up to me, and I was like, "Yes, I did." You know, and we talked for a little bit. So that's probably, they actually, because it was a while. It was like 5 or 6 months after I did the party. They still remembered me. So I was like, "Wow, that's cool." That's probably the magic coincidence that I've had that sticks out the most to me, though it's not as big as going into like an antique store and saying, "Oh my gosh, Tenyo item," or something like that. No, it's nothing that big. Nothing like that has ever happened to me. But that probably, ask me again in like 7 or 8 months, because I'm probably going to start going into antique stores soon, because I want to start looking for antiques, like Wizard of Oz items, that kind of thing. So I had a customer come into the Hallmark store. Just a little side note here. Last week or the week before, and they were like, "Do you have any antique Wizard of Oz stuff in here? Stuff that maybe will be antique one day." And because I said, "I've been going to antique stores and collecting stuff," and I talked to that customer for about an hour about the Wizard of Oz. So, well, no joke, it was about like a half hour. All right. So ask me again in a little bit. Maybe I'll have a different answer for you. All right. Wayne Carter says, when you do street magic, do you have to get a permit? Yes and no. Some places require a permit. Some don't. Like Ocean City, Maryland, the Boardwalk does not require a permit to perform. They used to, but there was a big kerfuffle with a balloon twister, and he won a lawsuit, and they drop the needing a permit. But some places you do need one. I know Santa Monica, where Chris Ballinger lives, to perform out there, you don't need a permit. So it really depends. It really depends on where you're at. The best thing I would say is if you're going to try to perform it on like a boardwalk like Coney Island or Ocean City, Maryland, just Google Ocean City, Maryland. Just Google Ocean City, Maryland street performers, and they have an actual street performer page. And a big boardwalk like Santa Monica or Coney Island will probably have their own boardwalk page, or even the police department will run a little small page for street performers. So either go online and look and see if they have written rules. If they don't have any written rules, just call up your local police department, ask them, and say, hey, can I perform on the street? They'll tell you yes, they'll tell you no. If they do tell you yes, get it in writing. Get it in writing. Go down to the police department, have the police chief sign something. That way, if you do get hassled by a cop, you can, and always keep that in writing paper with you. So if you do get hassled by a cop, you can pull it out and say, well, your police chief signed this in the nicest way possible. Don't be a jerk when you pull it out and say, look what I got, this little piece of paper that says I can. No, you want to pull it out and say, well, I got permission from the police chief. Here's my note. And they'll look at it and be like, oh, okay. Well, have a good day, sir. And then they'll move on. And also, if you don't know the laws, I'm not saying that this is going to be by any means just go out and perform. But if you don't know the laws and you do happen to perform in a spot that is illegal to perform in, if you're really nice to the cops and say, oh, this is my first time out here. I'm so sorry. I will move. I did not mean to. I didn't know. Cops, if you are nice to them, they're going to be nice back to you and be like, not a problem, you just can't perform here anymore, just, move along, is what they're going to tell you. So, but what I'd say is contact police department and get something in writing if they say yes. All right, and the next question comes from Purple Link Lego 11. How do you deal with people who immediately say, let me examine something, but they can't examine it because it's gimmicked? All right, great question, I love this one. Basically, the short answer is, to have something ready to go that's not gimmicked that you can jump right into. As I've talked about before, you are the storyteller in your magic. You tell the story. So you should be able to tell the spectators what you want them to do. If you want them to stand somebody, say, stand right over here for me. If you want them to hold a certain prop at a certain time, you say, hold this prop for me. You are the storyteller. They have to listen to you when you're performing your magic. So if they want to examine something, the best way I would say to either let them examine it if they can, because that's always a good thing. If they can't, because it is gimmicked, the thing I would recommend doing is when they say, oh, I believe that card is fake, or let's say, I believe that card is double-sided, let me examine it. And they're going to say, well, and you could say something like, what I usually say is, well, you can, but let me show you something even better. Let me show you something, an even better trick. And I immediately put the trick away in my case or in my pocket or whatever, and I'll pull out another one that is non-gimmicked. You want to make sure that it is non-gimmicked. Or if it is gimmicked, you can end clean, where you can ditch the gimmick or you can end in some kind of clean manner. And that way, the next trick, you can say, now you can check out this one. Or you could say, here, check it out, make sure it's good, or make sure it's real, or make sure nothing phony or whatever. And that way they forget about the first trick. They're so involved with the second one, and they're not going to remember, oh, well, let me go back and examine that first trick again, because they're going to be able to examine the second one. So have something right afterwards that you can go right into. And not even that, if they don't ask to examine that specific prop, always keep that trick in your back pocket, the one that's non-gimmicked. Because you can keep doing more gimmick things until they finally ask you, oh, well, let me see that. It could be gimmicked. And then you can say, well, let me show you one other quick thing really fast. But the best thing I like to do is use magic tricks that are heavily gimmicked or gimmicked in some way, but I can ditch the gimmick at the end. So that way they can take the gimmick, they can look at it all they want, or they can take the trick, look at it all they want, but the gimmick has been removed from play. And that's the kind of tricks that I really love, because that way, if they immediately ask you, there's no like putting things away and grabbing another trick. If you can ditch the gimmick, then boom, you can just leave the trick in play and in view a lot of times, which is good. All right, BX Shep TV or Brendan Shepard also wanted to know that answer, so I'm glad I answered that for you. But he has his own question. He says, to follow Purple Link Lego 11's question, what do you do if a spectator grabs a prop out of your hand to examine it? What do you say, and what do you do with the heckler? All right, now, first of all, I'm going to be very blunt here, and I'm sorry if I come across as mean, but you have very poor audience management skills if that happens. Not trying to be mean, but the spectators should never be grabbing things out of your hands because, like I said, you are the narrative, you are the storyteller, and with good audience management, which also takes a lot of practice to get really good with audience management. By the way, side note here, the best thing is, if you want really good audience management, do street magic, because you're going to have all kinds of people out there. You're going to learn how to do really good audience management out on the street. Because if you do a birthday show, the parents, before the show, might tell their kids to be quiet, listen to the magician. You do a stage show, people are sitting in the seats. They're not going to try to grab things from you. But on street, every kind of person can walk by, and somebody might try to grab a prop out of your hand. So it's a great, great way to build up your audience management skills. But if they try to grab it, if they grab a prop out of your hand, you immediately, well, I've never actually had this happen where somebody's actually tried to physically grab a prop. They have tried to grab props before after the trick's over, and I leave it, like I let it sit on the table for half a second. They try to go for it. And they say, let me see those cards. And they try to grab it. And I say, well, wait a minute. Let me show you something. And then I do the whole, let me show you something else thing, because if it's gimmicked. If they think it's gimmicked, they're going to try to go for it. Now, if they try to grab a prop out of your hand, the one thing I would do is, wait a minute. One thing I like to do is add a little joke into the thing. So I'll go something like, if you see them trying to reach for the prop, so I wish I had a prop here. I know what I can do. Let me put this one in my hand here, my little Phil minion guy. All right, he's in my hand. They try to start reaching for him. I'll say, no, wait a minute. I did not see your name in the script here, sir. I did not see you trying to go for my prop, okay? That's not in my script. So I'll hand this prop to you in just a moment, but don't be grabby, okay? And then if they try to go for it again, if another thing they can do if they go for it again is if they actually get it and they actually have it, I'll say, now, excuse me, sir, but I didn't say you could take that prop. Another thing I'll do is I'll say, let me see that back for just one moment. And then I'll do, if it's a prop that I can do some kind of sleight of hand move with, like let's say it's this little Phil guy or a sponge ball, I'll make him disappear like this. And I'll say, okay, he's now gone, and that's the end of the show. And I'll immediately stop the show and let that heckler move on and go bother somebody else. So I'll do something, that was, by the way, is a very bad fake transfer there of the Phil guy. It's kind of hard because he's kind of thick, he's yarn, so he doesn't compress like a sponge ball. But so basically the thing you want to make sure you do is have good audience management skills. And if they try to grab a prop, just be like, I didn't see your name so much in the script, sir, so why don't you just, stand back there just a little bit. And the best thing is when I perform a lot of times, when I do the farmer's market or I do street magic, I have a rope around me. So I'll place like a rope or something around my performing area. And that way I'll say, now, you must stay behind the rope the whole time. Otherwise, the show will immediately end. And I'll say something like, maybe not in these exact words, but I'll say something like, stand behind the rope. And if you're not behind the rope, the show immediately ends and we stop the magic. Okay, or I'll say something like the magic won't work if everyone's in front of the rope. So you gotta make sure you're behind the rope, stay behind the rope. And that just comes with really good audience management skills. And that's something you gotta practice if you're not very good at that. But like I say, street magic is great to go out and do your audience management skills with. All right, final question comes from Jay Brothrick. Hey, mate, I'm back. He says, and I'm glad you're back, Jay. Hope you're good, and what do you think of Flip Cup, and do you think you would do it? Alright, Flip Cup is a trick where you take a cup, like from a restaurant, like McDonald's or Subway, and you take a straw, and you make the straw vanish, and you flip the cup, well, you kind of shake the cup, and, well, you make the straw disappear, and it appears back inside the cup. You can do the same thing with a spoon or a knife, one of those plastic knives, you can make the knife vanish, and then it appears in the cup. I would never do it because I'm not an organic magician like that where I'll just take a cup and do a trick with a cup or a straw. I don't do stuff like that in my shows, so I probably wouldn't do it, but it still looks really cool. And it looks almost like a camera trick when you see the demo online. But I really think it would look cool if you do that kind of magic where you take random objects like a cup and you do a magic trick with it, or you do the healed and sealed trick, take a soda can out of a trash can and you make it the dents come out and all that stuff. If you do stuff like that, then Flip Cup's a great thing to add to your routine. And Jay also wants to know The Cockroach Catcher by Brian Watson. What do you think of it? Thanks, smiley face. Okay, the Cockroach Catcher, I don't like the Cockroach Catcher. The cockroach catcher is basically sort of like the paddle trick, where you have the paddle. Sometimes it has a dot on one side. Sometimes it has a rabbit on it. But anyways, you show the your little paddle thing to be blank on both sides, and then you make a cockroach appear on it for this cockroach catcher trick, and you make the cockroach disappear. You say, well, let's get the cockroach back. Wave your hand over it, and it's kind of like the web or My Pet Boris Magic Spider, where at the end, the cockroach is sitting on their hand. And they freak out and they go, ah, because there's a cockroach on there. I don't like that because of the fact it uses a paddle, and it just seems weird. I really love the My Pet Boris Magic Spider. Or you can also get the deluxe version that has a cockroach in it as well. I love the My Pet Boris Magic Spider. I think using a cell phone, having it crawl around the screen and talk about it being a virtual spider, and then you wave your hand over the screen and it's on the back of their hand, and they start flipping out, and they're like, ah! When this big honking spider appears on the back. I think that actually adds a little bit to the magic, and I really like that. So I would go with that instead of the cockroach catcher. My Pet Boris Magic Spider. Another great one is The Web by Richard Sanders. That's a classic of magic. Same principle. The spider appears on the back, but instead of having a phone or a paddle, you have cards that are blank, and then spider webs appear on them, and then you talk about what is in the corner of spider webs. A spider, that's right. Wave your hand over the cards, they wave it, and the spider is on the back. But I like the premise of My Pet Boris Magic Spider to be a virtual spider, then a realistic spider. And the way you get the spider on the back of the spectator's hand in My Pet Boris Magic Spider is a lot better, in my opinion, than using the web cards. Because the stuff that comes with the web to attach the spider, the gimmick is not as good. And I found the spider kept falling off with the web versus with the My Pet Boris Magic Spider. The gimmick you're supplied with to attach the spider to the back of the spectator's hand is a lot better. And the spider sticks no matter what. Because I've had problems with the gimmick you get with the spider kept falling off prematurely, and I was like, well, wait, that ruins the trick. Alright, so that's going to do it for this week for Magician 101. A lot of really great questions. Make sure to post your questions down below for next week. I'll give them an answer. And be sure to check out the new outro coming up in just a few moments right now. If you'd like to see more awesome content, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. New videos are posted every day of the week. Also, check out my website and register so you can post in the forums. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, like me on Facebook, add me to your Google Plus circles, and check out my merchandise store to pick up some awesome swag. 444RR, game shows, magic, and more.